All eyes turned to Thorn. The mediators projected his name glyph onto the dais. Lyria inclined her head in agreement. Thorn felt the weight of expectation, the absurdity of it. He was a diplomat from a backwater planet, suddenly thrust into mediating a resource dispute between galactic superpowers because he played a sad song. He stood, his legs feeling weak. He didn't reach for the violin. Its power was too raw, too specific. Instead, he drew on the shared vulnerability the music had exposed. Commander Kalen, prelate. Lyria, he began, his voice steady, despite his racing heart. Humanity knows scarcity. We know the desperate need for resources to survive, to protect our young. He thought of Maya's message, the fear in her words. We also know the cost of ignoring ... deeper harmonies. We shattered our own world, pursuing short-term gain. He paused, letting the image of old Earth's ruins, implied by his earlier words, hang in the air. The Adagio ... It is our memory of that cost. It is the sound of regret, echoing across generations. He looked at Kalen. Your need is real, Commander. Withdrawal is an act of strength, recognizing a greater loss, not weakness. He turned to Lyria, prelate. Your guardianship preserves something vital, beyond minerals. But stewardship implies responsibility to those who share the space, who also have needs. He took a breath, feeling the precariousness of the moment. The terms must acknowledge both truths. Controlled, sustainable access for Thargon, guided by elusian harmonic mapping to avoid catastrophe. Joint oversight, perhaps with conclave observers. Not exploitation, not embargo, but careful stewardship. Shared. He used Lyria's word deliberately. A pact built, not just on avoiding destruction, but on acknowledging the shared value of what exists. The value, he added softly, that resonates even in silence. Silence followed his words. Not the stunned silence of before, nor the heavy quiet of contemplation, but the active silence of consideration. Kalen studied Thorn, then Lyria, then the scanned data still displaying the singing, fractured asteroids. Lyria's light patterns shifted, analyzing Thorn's proposal through the lens of harmonic balance and ethical responsibility. The Zephyrian mediator pulsed, projecting a complex, interwoven glyph, Thargon strength, illusion, harmony, Terran insight, a proposal worthy of consideration, a framework acknowledging need, preservation, and shared consequence. Shall we adjourn to working sessions, Commander, Prelate? Kalen gave a single, sharp nod. We will discuss terms. He rose, his warriors, snapping to attention, their posture now more alert than aggressive. Lyria's containment field stabilized into a calm, steady glow. We concur. Detailed negotiation is required. Ambassador Thorn, she added, her luminous gaze resting on him. Your perspective on shared stewardship will be invaluable. Terra's voice is now heard. As the delegations began to shift, moving towards private negotiation chambers, Thorn sank back into his seat, exhaustion washing over him. The immediate crisis was averted. War was off the table, replaced by the arduous path of negotiation. Humanity had a seat at the table, its relevance painfully earned. He looked down at the violin case. It was no longer just a relic of loss. It was a symbol of unexpected power, forged in vulnerability. But Maya's message burned in his mind. The micrometeoroid swarm, the timing. His actions here had consequences, rippling out to the fragile habitats of Luna. He had stepped back from the galactic brink, only to feel the cold touch of a new threat much closer to home. The Adagio had bought them time, but the silence it had created was fragile, and other forces were listening. The resonance of sorrow had opened a door, but what waited on the other side was far from certain. The fragile piece felt as delicate as the ancient wood of the violin in its case ***, the Grand Conclave Chamber. felt different after the working sessions adjourned. The air still hummed with tension, but it was the focused energy of negotiation, not the volatile charge of imminent combat. Ambassador Thorn, however, carried a different kind of weight. The violin case felt heavier than lead, a symbol not just of sorrow, but of the terrifying vulnerability his desperate act had exposed. He retreated to the sparse Terran diplomatic quarters, a functional compartment aboard the Conclave station. The image of Maya's frightened message seared into his mind. Targeted, he accessed secure channels, his fingers trembling slightly as he bypassed standard protocols to reach Terra Central Intelligence directly. The response was swift and grim, confirming his worst fears. Ambassador Thorn, the encrypted text scrolled. *Luna Habitat 7, incident confirmed as deliberate kinetic attack. Micro-projectiles disguised as natural swarm. Origin obfuscated, but trajectory analysis points to outer asteroid belt near disputed Xylo 7 trade lanes. Minimal damage achieved, likely a warning shot. Intent, destabilization. Your status elevated to critical risk. Security detail inbound. Advise extreme caution. *, a warning shot, fired at his granddaughter's home. The cold calculation of it stole his breath. His desperate plea for shared understanding, his use of human sorrow as a bridge, had been perceived not as strength, but as exploitable weakness. Someone, or some faction, wanted the fragile negotiations to fail. They wanted the Thargon and Elusians back at each other's throats, and they were willing to threaten human lives to achieve it. The promised Conclave security detail arrived, two stoic, multi-limbed Zervites, in shimmering neutral gray armor. Their presence was a comfort and a chilling reminder of his new reality. He was no longer just an ignored envoy. He was a pawn, or perhaps a target, in a larger, darker game. The next cycle brought the first substantive negotiation session. Thorn entered the designated smaller council chamber, flanked by the Zer. Commander Kalen and Prelate Lyria were already present, along with their key advisors, and the mediating Zephyrian. The atmosphere was tense, but workmanlike. Holodisplays showed complex resource maps and the now infamous harmonic stability overlay of Xylo's 7 cluster theta.calen, pragmatic in the face of hard data, focused on specifics. Peripheral extraction zones, he rumbled, pointing at the holomap. Yield projections, timelines, security protocols for Thargon mining barges. Elusian oversight parameters cannot impede operational efficiency. Lyria, radiating calm authority, countered. Efficiency must be secondary to harmonic integrity. Commander, our weavers will designate safe extraction vectors. Thargon sensor suites must be calibrated to detect harmonic stress fractures at levels below your standard tolerances. Oversight is non-negotiable for early warning. Thorn listened, forcing himself to focus. To contribute where he could, advocating for clear communication protocols, standardized safety margins, conclave verification of yield claims to prevent future disputes. He spoke of Terra's hard-learned lessons about environmental monitoring and the dangers of pushing systems beyond their breaking points. His words carried weight, born from the shared understanding of loss the Adagio had forged. Both Kalen and Lyria listened, occasionally nodding, incorporating his points. The framework of shared stewardship was slowly, painstakingly, taking shape. During a recess, Thorn found himself momentarily alone near a refreshment synthesizer, his Zervite guards a discreet distance away. Kalen approached, his massive form surprisingly quiet. He stopped beside Thorn, gazing not at the envoy, but out of viewport at the swirling nebula beyond the station. That sound, Kalen began abruptly, his voice low, the grinding softer than usual. The Adagio, it ... lingers. He tapped a thick finger against his central thoracic plate, like a vibration in the deep rock. Unsettling, Thorn looked at the warrior commander, seeing not just aggression, but a being grappling with unfamiliar emotions. It speaks to something universal, Commander, Thorn replied quietly. The cost of survival, the shadow of what we might lose. Kalen grunted, a non-committal sound. My clutch sister, he said, the words seeming to emerge with difficulty. She leads a colony on Thargon's third moon. The ice mines there. They sing sometimes, a low, mournful groan when the drills hit deep permafrost. I never understood it before. Just ... noise. He turned his amber eyes towards Thorn. Now ... it sounds different, like your Terran lament. He paused, then added, almost offensively. But weakness is death. My warriors must be strong. Understanding loss isn't weakness, Commander, Thorn said carefully. It's knowing what you fight for, what you protect, your colony, your people. That's the strength beneath the armor. He thought of Maya, the reason he fought here in this alien arena. Kalen stared at him for a long moment, then gave a curt nod. Perhaps. He turned and walked back towards his delegation without another word. It wasn't agreement, but it was a crack in the armor. A moment of profound connection Thorn hadn't anticipated. The negotiations continued. Progress measured in incremental concessions. Lyria proved surprisingly adaptable within her core principles. Recognizing the necessity of meeting Thargon's needs to maintain stability. Kalen, while demanding, showed a grudging respect for the precision of elusian harmonic science. Thorn's role evolved into that of a translator, not of language, but of perspective, explaining Thargon's logistical imperatives to Lyria, and elusian's abstract harmonic concerns to Kalen, in terms of tangible risk and consequence.